fell down a turbine.
Gimpel, the Tsar is coming to Frample.
Today isn't yesterday, and yesterday isn't today.
Don't rack your brains about it.
Is the bride a widow or a divorced woman?
Both a widow and divorced.
An evil spirit has taken root in you and dazzled your sight.
You are not a fool. They are the fools. 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 You are not a fool. You are not a fool. You are not a fool.
I'm Gimpel the Fool. Well, I don't think myself the fool. Quite the opposite, but that's the name I got in Hebrew school. They gave me 7 nicknames in all. Imbecile, idiot, jerk, jackass, nincompoop, simpleton, and fool. The last name stuck. What did my foolishness consist of? Well, I was easily deceived. They said, Gimpel, the rabbi's wife is giving birth today, so I skipped school. Well, it turned out to be a lie. How was I supposed to know? Well, she hadn't have a big belly, but I never looked at her belly. Was that really so foolish? Well, the whole gang laughed and hee-hawed and stomped and danced and chanted a goodnight prayer. I'm no weakling. If I slapped someone, he'd see stars all the way to Krakow, but I'm not really a tough guy by nature. I say to myself, let it pass. So they pick on me. I was walking home from Hebrew school and I heard a dog barking. Well, I'm not afraid of dogs, but I don't want to start up with them. One might be mad, and if he bites, there's nothing you can do, so I made tracks. Well, I turned around and the whole marketplace was wild with laughter. It turned out it wasn't a dog at all, but Wolfleave the thief may rest in pieces. How was I supposed to know? It sounded like a howling bitch. Well, when everyone heard that I was supposed to come in and go, they all started all making fun of me, and firstly I said, everything is possible as it is written in the wisdoms of our Father and in ethics, or in I don't know exactly where, but secondly, I had to. When the whole calm came down on me, if I dared say you're kidding, well, people get angry. They say, what do you mean? Are you calling all of us a liar? Well, what was I supposed to do? I believed them and hoped that would do them some good.
Gimpel, your father and mother have stood up from their grave. They're looking for you.
I was an orphan? My grandfather, who was already bent toward the grave, so they turned me over to a baker. Well, what a time did they give me there? A student from the yeshiva came in to buy a roll, and he said, "Hey, you, Gimpel, while you're standing there preparing your dough, the Messiah's come, the dead have arisen." I said, "What do you mean? I didn't hear anyone blow the ram's horn." And he said, "What, are you deaf?" And everyone cried, we heard. And then little Rachel, the candle dipper, she came in running, huffing and puffing, "Gimpel, Gimpel, your mother and father have stood up from their grave. They're looking for you." Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't believe them. But nevertheless, as folks were talking, I went out. Maybe something did happen. What did I stand to lose by looking? Well, what a cat music went up then. I vowed to believe nothing more, but that was a no-go either. They had me so confused, I didn't know if I was coming or going. Well, I went to the rabbi to get some advice.
It is written, better to be a fool all of your days than for 1 hour to be evil. You are not a fool, they are the fools. For he who causes his neighbor to feel shame loses paradise himself.
But nevertheless, when I left the rabbinical court, the rabbi's daughter took me in.
Gimpel, have you kissed the wall yet?
What should I kiss the wall for?
It's the law. You've got to do it after every visit.
Well, I didn't see any harm in it. And then she burst out laughing. It was a fine trick. She put one over on me, all right. I wanted to go far away to another town, but then they all started with the matchmaking. They talked to me and talked until I got water on the ear. Well, she was no chaste maiden, but they said she was virgin pure. Her name was Elka, and she walked with a limp, but they said it was deliberate to be coy. Well, she had a bastard, and they said the little baby was her brother. I said, forget about it. I'm never going to marry that whore. They said, Gimpel, what a way to talk. Do you want us to go to the rabbi and have you fined for giving her a bad name? Well, I saw then and there it wouldn't be easy to escape them. They were bent on making me their butt. But when you're married, the husband's the master, and if that's all right with her, then it's agreeable with me too. Besides, you can't go through life unchanged or expect to. I went to her clay house, which was built on the sand. I enter the house and lines of laundry are strung up between the walls and clothes are drying, dripping onto the floor. Oh, she stood at the back barefoot doing the wash by the bathtub. Well, she had her hair put up in braids and pinned up at the back of her head, and she wore a hand-me-down gown of plush, and she knew who I was, and evidently she was expecting me.
Look who's here. He's come the dread. Grab a seat.
Well, tell me the truth. Are you really a virgin? And is that mischievous Yichia actually your little brother? Don't be deceitful with me, for I'm an orphan.
I'm an orphan myself. And whoever tries to twist you up, may the end of his nose take a twist. But don't let them think they can take advantage of me. I want a dowry of 50 guilders.
50 guilders?
And let them take up a collection besides. Otherwise, they can kiss my you-know-what.
But it's the bride and not the groom that's supposed to give the dowry.
Don't bargain with me. Either a flat yes or a flat no and go back where you came from.
Well, no bread will ever be baked from this dough. But our town was not a poor one. They consented with everything and proceeded with the ceremony. As it turns out, there was a dysentery epidemic at the time, so they held the ceremony by the cemetery gates where they used to wash the corpses. And everyone was getting drunk. They were drawing up the marriage contract.
Is the bride a widow or a divorced woman?
Well, actually...
Both a widow and divorced.
Oh, it was a dark moment for me, but what was I supposed to do? Run away from under the marriage canopy? Everyone was singing and dancing all around me. An old granny danced opposite me, hugging a braided white challah. And after the ceremony, there were all kinds of gifts, buckets and brooms and household items galore and kneading balls and needle trough. And then I took a look and I saw two scrapping young men carrying a baby crib. Hey, what do we need this for? Huh?
Don't rack your brains about it. It's all right. It'll come in handy.
Well, I realized I was going to be rooked, but take it another way. What did I stand to lose? I decided I'll wait and see what happens. The whole town can't go all together crazy. That night, I went to where my wife lay. But she wouldn't let me in. Hey, is this what they married us for?
Oh, my monthly has come.
But they took you to the ritual bath yesterday, and that's afterwards. Isn't it supposed to be?
Today isn't yesterday, and yesterday's not today. You can beat it if you don't like it.
In short, I waited, and not 4 months later, she went into childbirth. The whole town hid their laughter and their knuckles, and she suffered intolerable pains. I didn't know what to do. She was clawing at the walls, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. The thing to do is to go to the prayer house and recite songs.
The wealthy Red Gimpel invites the congregation to a feast in honor of the birth of a son.
Well, I was in charge of the circumcision and all the other ritual ceremonies. The whole town came running. You couldn't wedge another person in. The woman brought peppered chickpeas, and the men gave a whole keg of wine and beer, and I drank and ate as everyone, and everyone came and wished me Mazal Tov, and when it came time for the circumcision, well, I named the child after my father. May he rest in peace. When all were gone, I was left alone with my wife.
Gimpel, why are you silent?
Well, what should I say?
Has your ship gone and sunk?
A fine thing you've done. If my mother were alive, she would have died a second time.
Are you crazy or what?
Well, how can you make a fool of one who should be the Lord and the Master?
What's the matter with you? What have you taken into your head to imagine?
Well, how can you treat an orphan this way? You have born a bastard.
Drive this foolishness out of your head. The child is yours.
Well, how can it be mine? It was born 17 weeks after the wedding. Well, she said it was premature. I said, isn't it a bit too premature? And then she says, lots of children are born 7 months. And I said, 7 is not 5. And then she told me about her grandmother who carried for just a short time, and she resembled this grandmother as one drop of water resembles another. Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't believe her, but the next day I went to the rabbi and he said, that's exactly the way it is with Adam and Eve, Gimpel. 2, they went up to bed. 4, they descended. There's not a woman in the world that's not a descendant of Eve, he said. Besides, even the little baby Jesus didn't have a father. Well, who knows how these things really are? I began to forget my sorrow. I loved the child madly, and he loved me. And whenever he'd seen me, he'd wave his little hand. And whenever he was colicky, I was the only one that could comfort him. I brought him a bone teething ring and a little gilded cap. And during the week, I'd bring her dark loaf and white loaf and poppy seed rolls. And I began thieving. I took everything I could get my hands on. Macaroons, almonds, chocolate. And well, I hope I'll be forgiven for stealing from the Sabbath pots that the women would leave to warm the cholent in my bakery oven. I took out a chunk of meat and a slab of pudding and a chicken leg or head or neck or whatever I could get my hands on. And she'd eat it all and become fat and handsome. Well, during the week, I'd have to be away from the bakery. I couldn't stay at home, so I'd sleep in the bakery. And whenever I came home on Friday night, well, she'd always have some excuse. If it wasn't a headache, it was a heartache. If it wasn't a stitch in the side, it was the hiccups. Well, you know what women's excuses are. I had a rough time. And to top it off, the little baby grew up and he gave me lumps. And if I wanted to hit him back, well, she'd open her mouth up so wide and curse so powerfully that I began to see purple haze appear before my very eyes. She threatened to divorce me 10 times a day. Another man would have just left and disappeared, but I'm the type that bears it and says nothing. Shoulders are from God and burdens too. Well, one night there was a calamity in the bakery. The oven burst, and we almost had a fire. Nothing to do but go home. So I'll go home. Let me taste the joy of sleeping in my own bed in midweek. As I enter the house, I heard the sound of not one snore, but as it were a double snore. One was a thin enough snore, but the other was like the sound of an ox being slaughtered. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And when I go up closer, I see that next to Elka lay the form of a man. Well, somebody else would have made enough noise to rouse up the whole town, but then I said, no. Why wake up the little child? Poor thing. Why frighten the little swallow? Enough of being a sucker. I'm not going to be a donkey for the rest of my life. Well, there's a limit to even the foolishness of a fool like Gimpel. The next day, I went to the rabbi, and it made a huge commotion in the town. The rabbi sent the beadle for Elka, and she came immediately carrying the child. And what do you think she did? She denied it. She denied it all, bone and stone. The rabbi, he banged on the table. He threatened her, but she stuck to her guns. It's a false delusion. I'll have nothing of his false delusions, she said. And the horse traders and the butchers, well, they all took her apart. And then there was this lad that from the slaughterhouse. Well, he came up to me and he said, we got our eye on you. You're a marked man. And then the little baby soiled itself, and they could have nothing of that, and they sent Elka away. Rabbi, what should I do?
You must divorce her at once.
But what if she refuses?
You must serve the divorce. That's all you have to do.
Well, all right, Rabbi, I'll think about it.
There is nothing to think about. You mustn't remain under the same roof with her.
But what if I want to see the child?
Let her go, the harlot and her brood of bastards with her.
And then the verdict he gave was I wasn't ever to cross her threshold, ever again, as long as I should live. Well, at first it didn't bother me so much. It was bound to happen. The abscess had bound to burst. But at night, I felt a terrible longing for the child. I'm an orphan. I know a child is not complete without a complete home. I wanted to get angry, but that's my misfortune exactly. I don't have it in me to be really angry. I mean, there's bound to be a slip sometimes. You can't live without errors. The lad who was with her, he brought her presents or whatnot, and women are sometimes long on hair and short in sense, and that's how he got around her. And if she denies it so much, then maybe I didn't see what I saw. I mean, at night you see a mannequin or something and you go up closer and it's nothing. There's nothing there. Well, I decided I went to the rabbi and I said, Rabbi, I think I made a mistake about my wife. And he carried on writing with his quill and he said, if that were so, we'll have to re-examine the whole case. In the meantime, you're not to see her. You can send money or bread with a messenger. Well, 9 months passed before a decision could be made. I had no idea so much discussion could be made about such a matter. Letters went back and forth between the rabbis, and in the meantime, Elka, she gave birth to another child, a girl this time, and I went to the synagogue and I gave a holy blessing over her, and I named the child after my mother-in-law. May she rest in peace. I vowed to always believe what I was told. What's the point in not believing? Today, it's your wife you don't believe in. Tomorrow, it's God himself you won't take stock in. Well, by my apprentice, I sent her all kinds of wedding strudel and wedding cake, and the apprentice, well, he was kind of a good-hearted lad. He more than once added something of his own. At first he was kind of annoying. He'd pluck my nose or dig deep into my ribs, but after a while, when he started becoming a regular visitor in our home, when he started coming to our home regularly, well, that's when he became kind of friendly.
Hey, you, Gimpel. You have a very decent little wife and 2 fine kids. You don't deserve them.
Yeah, but the things that people say about her.
Well, they have long tongues and nothing to do with them but babble. Ignore it, as you'd ignore the cold of last winter.
Oh, one night the rabbi sent for me.
Are you certain, Gimpel, that you were wrong about your wife?
Yes, I am certain.
Why, but look here. You yourself saw it.
Well, it must have been a shadow.
A shadow of what?
Oh, of a beam or something.
You can go home then. You owe thanks to the Yanova rabbi. He found an obscure reference in Maimonides that favored you.
Well, I seized the rabbi's hand and I kissed it. It's no small thing to be separated from wife and children for such a long period of time. I wanted to run home immediately, but I thought, no, I'll go to work now and I'll go home in the evening. Well, at the bakery, I didn't tell anyone anything, but I felt it was like one of those holy days. The women, they teased and twitted at me like they usually do, but I said, you go on with your loose talk. The truth is out like the The oil is upon the water. Maimonides said it is kosher, and so it is kosher. Well, at night, I let the dough out to let it rise. I took my fair share of the bread, and I headed homeward. The moon was full, and the stars were glistening, something to terrify the soul. And then a dark shadow darted right out in front of me. I thought, well, maybe I should sing, but I didn't want to wake up the neighbors, so I thought, well, I should whistle. But I remembered that whistling brings out the demons at night. So I hurried ahead quickly and quietly. Well, you bark your teeth out. What are you but mere dogs? I'm a man, the husband of a fine wife, the father of 2 promising children. As I approached the house, I felt no fear, but my heart was thumping like the heart of a criminal. Well, no turning back now. I enter the house. It's dark, but the moon's light shines through the shutters, and I see the newborn baby girl, and I want to kiss her every little bone. But as I go closer to the bedroom, who do you think I see? Well, next to Elka lay the apprentice.
Who is that?
It's me.
Gimpel?
Uh-huh.
How come you're here?
Well, because the rabbi said...
I thought it was forbidden.
No, the rabbi said that...
Listen to me, Gimpel. Go out to the shed and see if the goat's all right. It seems she's been sick.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, we had a little nanny goat, and I had an almost beautiful, warm human feeling for this nanny goat. I went out to the yard, and I took it by its udders, and I felt under, but there was nothing wrong. Probably ate too much bark. You go to sleep, little nanny goat, and the nanny goat went and said, bah, as if to say, thank you. Thank you for your warm feelings. Went back into the house, and the apprentice had disappeared. Where's the lad? Huh?
What lad?
What do you mean? The apprentice, you were sleeping with him.
The things you've dreamed this night, may they come true and lay you low, body and soul. An evil spirit has taken root in you and dazzled your sight. You hateful creature. You mooncalf. You spoke. You uncouth man. Get out, or I'll scream all trample on a man. Get out. Get out.
The next day, I called the apprentice aside and I said, now listen here, and so on and so forth, and what do you say? Well, he looked at me like I'd fallen from the roof or something.
I swear, you better go to a herb doctor or some healer. I'm afraid you have a screw loose. Well, I'll hush it up for you.
And that's how the thing stood. Well, to make a long story short, I lived with my wife for 20 years. She gave me 6 children, 2 boys and 4 girls, and all kinds of things happened, but I neither saw nor heard. I believed. And that's all. The rabbi said that belief in itself is beneficial. That a good man, he lives by his faith. Well, suddenly my wife took sick. It began as a trifle, a growth on the breast, but evidently she was not destined to live long. She had no years. I spent a fortune on her. Oh, I forgot to tell you, by this time I'd become quite a wealthy man in Frampo. I had my own bakery, and I brought in witch doctors and healers, and they tried cupping and leeches, but nothing worked. Well, I guess it was just, I brought in a doctor from Lublin, but it was too late.
Gimpel,
Oh, before she died, she called me to her bed.
forgive me, Gimpel.
What is there to forgive? You've been a good and faithful wife.
Whoa, Gimpel, it was ugly how I deceived you all these years. I want to go clean to my maker.
Your maker?
And so I have to tell you that the children are not yours.
Well, whose are they?
I don't know. There were a lot, but they're not yours.
And she turned her head to the side, her eyes turned glassy, and it was all up with Elka. On her whitened lips remained a smile, as if, dead as she was saying,
I deceived Gimpel. That was the meaning of my brief life.
Gimpel, why do you sleep?
well, what should I be doing? Eating crepe
The
laugh?
whole world deceives you,
Deceives me?
and you ought to deceive the world in your turn.
Well, how can I deceive the world?
You might accumulate a bucket of urine every day, and at night pour it into the dough.
Urine?
Let the sages of Frample eat filth.
But what about the judgment in the world to come?
There is no world to come. They've sold you a bill of goods and talked you into believing you carried a cat in your belly. What nonsense!
Well, is there a God?
There is no God either.
Well, what is there then?
A thick mire.
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Do it.
I'll
Do it. Do it.
Do
Do
it.
it. Do it. Do
I'll
it.
do it.
Do it.
I'll
Do it. Do it. Do it.
I'll do it.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
What have you done, Gimpel?
It's all your fault. It's all your fault.
Oh, you fool, you fool! Because I was false, is everything false too? I never deceived anyone but myself. I'm paying for it all, Gimpel. They spare you nothing here.
I looked at her face. It was turning black. I felt like my whole world hung on a balance. One false step and I'd lose eternal life forever. But God gave me his help. As the apprentice approached, he turned as pale as a corpse.
What are you doing, boss?
I know what I'm doing. And I buried the bread. I went home and I took the hoard from its hiding place and I divided it among my children. I saw your mother tonight. She's turning black. Well, they were so astounded. They were speechless. You be well, and you forget that one such as Gimpel ever existed. Where are you going, they said. Into the wide world. And so I left Rample. I wandered across the land, and good people did not neglect me. After many years, I grew old and white. I heard a great many lies and falsehoods, but the longer I lived, the more I realized that there really are no lies. Whatever doesn't happen is dreamed at night. If it doesn't happen to one, it happens to another. Tomorrow, if not today, a month from now, if not a century hence, what difference does it make? Now, often I begin by telling these stories by saying, now this is something that could never, ever have happened. But before a year has elapsed, I've heard that it has actually come to pass somewhere. As I travel from town to town, sitting at strange tables, I spin yarns of improbable tales of windmills and angels and demons and the like. The children, they run after me and say, "Grandfather, tell us a story." Sometimes they ask for particular stories, and I try to please them. One little fat boy said, "Grandfather, you told us that story before." The little rogue. He was right. And so it is with dreams, too. It is many years since I've left Frample, but as soon as I shut my eyes, I'm there again. And who do you think I see? Elka. She's standing by the bathtub as she was at our first encounter, but her face is shining and her eyes are as radiant as the eyes of a saint. She speaks strange words, impossible tales, and when I wake up, I've forgotten everything. But while I dream, she comforts me. She answers all my queries, and what comes out is that all is right. Sometimes she weeps and caresses me and weeps upon my face, and when I wake up, I feel her lips and I taste the salt of her tears. No doubt that this world, it's entirely an imaginary world, but it's only once removed from the real world. At the door of the hovel where I sit stands the plank that carry away the dead. The gravedigger Jew has his spade ready. The grave is warm and the worms are hungry. I have my shrouds prepared. I carry it in my beggar's sack. An old schnorrer is waiting to inherit my bed of straw. When the time comes, I will go joyfully. Whatever is there will be real, without complication, without deception, without ridicule. God be praised. There, even Gimpel cannot be fooled. much.